Hello, I'm Keeling. I started bowl turning about 12 years ago, and I used to make the conventional type of wooden bowls like this. Brought them in for my wife, and she used to say how marvellous they were, give them away to my friends, and then make Christmas gifts like this. But sooner or later you flood the house with these things, and there's not a lot you can do with them. And when I made a really beautiful item and I brought it in and my wife said, "That's lovely, can you keep it in your workshop?" I realised I'd saturated the market. So as an amateur bowl turner, I had a couple of hours free each evening. More than that, I was then told that I loved my bowl turning more than my wife, so 2 hours was my maximum. And so I wanted to find something that I could do for 2 hours in an evening that would probably last several months if necessary to make. So I had this idea of gluing wood together. I got lots of planks of wood, gluing them together to make a composite bowl. And so my first example of doing this was this one, and I made this out of planks of beech, and I was very proud of it at the time. It's by modern standards, it's heavy, and it looks as though the miters have gone in the bottom. They haven't gone. It was the wood glue that I used has now separated as the wood has dried out over the years. But it gave me the idea. And not only that, it gave me some fantastic ideas that I was no longer constrained by the size and shape of the piece of wood that I had. I could construct anything. And I did. I constructed some outlandish designs like this one, which was taken after my favourite glass of wine shape. And then I saw that Bud Latvin in America, probably one of the finest segmented turners in the world, was running a course in his studio. And so I went and spent a week with him in America. During that week, I constructed this bowl. It's based on a Mexican design, and it's got lots of interesting things, veneers and segments, etc. And I was very pleased that I was able to complete this in the 5 days I was with him. I came back and finished it off in terms of sanding and entered it into the Stoneleigh woodworking exhibition, and I won the visitor's prize for my first entry. So I then started to make more elaborate segmented bowls. And a year later, I went to the symposium in America and saw for the first time open segmented bowls. And this was quite different. And here, for an example, is the same bowl constructed two different ways. So this is the bowl constructed with solid segments, and then this is the bowl constructed using a gap between the segments called open segments. And you can see the difference is quite stunning. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to make these two simple bowls. I've obviously progressed over the years into things like lampshades and flutes. I won the second prize of the Felix Levy competition for the Worshipful Company of Turners with that, onto candlesticks like these, and I won the second prize at Alexandra Palace with a pair like these. I didn't get first prize because, as the judges pointed out, there was a 1/10 of an inch difference in the size of the two pieces. But I enjoy segmented turning, and it's a very rewarding process. And it means that I can spend quite a long time producing items of more interesting value. And I've now taken it even a stage further into artistic work, and this is the piece that I'll be exhibiting at the Loughborough Symposium later this year. And this was based on a triple helix design that I'd seen from some various artists, and I thought I can construct it in wood. And that started off as a bowl with then the segment pieces held together by very fine brass rods. In the video, I go through the segmented process, machining flat the strips of timber, cutting them into segments, gluing them together, building up a composite bowl, and then turning the bowl. First of all, we cut the strips of timber on a circular saw. We then thickness them on the planer thicknesser, cut the segments on the bandsaw, and true up the angles on a sanding disc. The segments are then glued together using Tight Bond 2, rubbing the segments together until they grab. We then build up a semicircle and we check the accuracy of the semicircle before moving on to the next one. When the semicircles are dry, we then trim them up on the sanding disc and then glue them together. We do this for all the layers. The layers are then assembled on the lathe using a circular back plate with concentric circles to centralize each piece. I allow about 12 hours between each gluing to dry. The levels are built up brick fashion, and then we start turning using a shear scraper, which is a scraper on its side taking very fine cuts. The outside is very similar, but instead of using a shear scraper, I'm using a bowl gouge on its side in shear scraping mode. I then go through the grits up to 800 and finally lacquer the bowl. The open segmented turning process is very similar, but the segments are slightly smaller and we arrange them on a template to give us the gap between the segments. We turn and finish the inside and then the outside, reverse the bowl and turn the base. This is using the Seg Easy plate to hold the templates in place. I then use it on the tailstock to centralize each level and clear the glue using a pipe cleaner. Again, allowing about 12 hours between each level to dry and gradually building up the composite and finishing off with a solid ring. The inside I've used a special tool to cut and then polish the inside. Again, on the outside I use the bowl gouge on its side in shear scraping mode to take that lovely finishing cut. Again, we go through the grits up to 800, lacquer and finish the bowl. The video can be purchased from my website. It lasts 45 minutes and costs £15 plus postage.